Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We've got Mr. Walter Cullen Jr., who is going to give us a lot of information alluding to community education and some things about politics. Let me tell you some things about Mr. Cullen. Walter is an accomplished educator and higher education administrator currently serving in a leadership capacity. His career in education has been diverse, including roles such as teacher, coach, mentor, dean, and associate principal. A strong proponent of intrinsic motivation, Walter's motto, intrinsically motivated with no excuses, underscores his dedication in fostering autonomy, accountability, and self-efficacy in his students. Beyond his professional life, Walter is deeply involved in community initiatives. He actively works in the community, focusing on aid and training up of young minority children. Recognizing the unique challenges faced by these children, Walter is committed to providing guidance, mentorship, and educational support to help them overcome obstacles and reach their full potential. In his personal life, Walter wears various hats with equal dedication. He is a devoted husband, actively contributing to the strength and warmth of his family. As a father, he guides and supports his children, emphasizing the importance of values and providing a nurturing environment for their growth. Walter is not only a dedicated family man, but also a caring son and brother. He values maintaining strong connections with his parents and siblings, contributing to the solid foundation of his family life. In addition to his educational pursuits, Walter extends his impact by providing consultation to educators. He shares strategies and skills aimed at helping fellow educators establish genuine, long-lasting connections with their students. His broader mission includes community engagement, where he actively works towards uplifting and empowering young minority children through mentorship and educational support. Walter Cullen Jr. stands as a dedicated advocate for student success, community empowerment, and the well-being of his family. His commitment is evident in every aspect of his professional and personal life, where he brings his wealth of experience and expertise to make a positive impact. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Walter Cullen Jr. How you doing, sir?
Good evening. How are you doing, man, Mr. King?
I'm doing just excellent. Welcome to the show. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that wonderful bio?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for showering me with those praises and plaudits for sure. That does encompass pretty much a lot about me. I am more so a background guy too as well. I like to do things and be supportive from behind the scenes a lot of times, but I understand that there are times in which you need to step forward and be more vocal and be more in the forefront and leading some things. So that's pretty much all I really have to add. I'm just very, very appreciative of you having me on your platform. Thank you.
Well, I definitely appreciate it, and I tell you, I think you're one of those people that I think the audience needs to get to know and get to know some of the things that you're doing. And I'm sure that as it reaches, that it's going to reach the area in which you're located, to where I'm sure your people will get to know a whole lot more about what you're doing and how they can work with you in order to make a whole bunch of improvements.
Absolutely, that's definitely the aim. Just trying to get people to come together, get some cohesion going. Not saying that anyone in the city of Milwaukee, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Not saying that anyone isn't doing anything, but just really trying to tap and rub elbows with individuals so we can do it more collectively, and it can be seen a little bit more, even starting from the grassroots, as opposed to just some that are already have their roots in the community. But some of these people that we see on the sidelines that are like, okay, you're doing great work. You're doing great work. You're doing great work. Let's get together. How can we band together? How can I support you? How can I support you? And do it all for the community, but especially for the youth.
Right.
So we always say the cliche is, the children are the future. So we got to start there.
So besides that bio that we just read, on you, can you tell our audience who Walter Cullen Jr. is? Tell us, who is Walter?
Walter Cullen Jr. is a native of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. However, like I told you before, I lived in Atlanta for about 2 years when I was a child. I have a very diverse background in education, in which I've attended 6 different schools. Um, 5 of them were public schools, so mom and I bounced around a lot. It's just my mom and I. And then I finally went to private school in 8th grade, and finished out my high school years at that. Always was into sports, always enjoyed writing and reading and being alone with my sister. She was somebody, we were 12 years apart. So I was kind of like the only child, and she was kind of like the only child. So I had a lot of time with myself to kind of like self-reflect, figure out who I wanted to be, what my morals were, my character, and things like that. And all that comes from Miss Cullen, Megan Cullen. Shout out my moms. But then after that, it was like, going to college. I'm a college guy. Big proponent when it comes to education. Love children. Always love, being involved with children, really trying to guide them and strengthen them and lead them on the way, but more so be a facilitator of their learning, as opposed to being that direct person to be like, you have to do it this way and this is the only way you should, you know what I mean? And one thing my sister always used to tell me when I used in education was that even if your professor or if an adult tells you something, you still should question it and go look it up and verify it for yourself. So I've always been that person to be like, okay, someone gave me some information, I humbly accept it and I welcome it, but I'm going to go check that against what I know. I'm going to test it against my morals and values and character and really try to see if that aligns with my values. And then that's all I'm trying to do now. I fell into education through a buddy of mine, a seasoned fellow of mine. He actually reached out to me. I was in healthcare. I'm a healthcare kid. I enjoy working in the hospitals, dealing with people and helping, patients. But before you knew it, I was teaching, and I've never turned back since 2013. I've ran a gamut in education, and that's where I am. I'm always trying to educate somebody, learn from somebody, being that lifelong learner, understanding that things change, being adaptable, but also just always trying to carry myself with that humility. So it was great to even, connect with you. So many miles away, right? I'm in Milwaukee, you're in Atlanta. It's just great to, really connect with different people and really try to get perspectives and change and really trying to challenge yourself. And that's all I'm really here to do, and try to bring about some cohesion amongst the people around me, because charity starts in the home, right? So I gotta start at my home, then I step outside into the community, and I go beyond. So that's my aim, that's my mission. That's pretty much Walter Cullen in a nutshell.
So, can you share some insights into your career journey, highlighting
Okay.
key milestones and turning points?
Alrighty. So I'm going to start with, so I went to Milwaukee Public School from kindergarten through 7th grade. I transitioned to private school in 8th grade. In public school, I was a 3.8 student, 3.6 student. I went to private school and it was like, hold on, there's another level. It was a different kind of feel. It was a different type of rigor with education. And I received my first 2.342. And I was devastated. I didn't understand what had happened. That was like my first like real deal, like, punch in the stomach. I'm just like, hold on, what's going on? I'm used to getting these grades. So that's kind of like where intrinsically motivated comes into play. So that was a big push right there. Then I go to high school, and thinking back in hindsight, Miss Eddie, my junior year, she actually put me in position to teach a young gentleman the basics of basketball. And me not knowing as a kid, I'm just thinking like, this is summer money, easy money. I teach him the fundamentals of basketball, get my money and go about it. But when I think back to it and where I am now, it's like that was actually a seed being planted in terms of me becoming like a teacher. But all in all, I'm thinking healthcare. I'm dealing with the cadavers, in biology and anatomy. I'm just like, I'm going to healthcare. I'm playing basketball, doing healthcare. I want to be a radiologist or something. So I graduate and I go to UWM for my Bachelor of Science in Health Administration. I have this internship at Freighter Hospital, and I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. But there's a roadblock. The hours that they want me to work for my internship conflict with me completing my classes.
Mhm.
So, which was kind of devastating. So I had to make a choice there. I'm going to continue to do the internship to get my foot in the door, or I'm going to, finish my degree. Obviously, I wanted to finish my degree. We were not paying this money for nothing. So I
Right.
do that, get that taken care of. Fortunately, Freighter did hire me, which was great. So I got my foot in the door with that. And then, like I said, I got into teaching. But prior to teaching, something that happened was before I was hired back to Freighter, I had rubs and elbows with the African American gentleman. He was higher up in the human resources management. He was like the associate director. And he and I had forged a relationship. And one day I was telling him, like, man, I'm trying to get a job back in healthcare. And we met at Starbucks for coffee, and we sat there and we talked. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm trying to get back into it. I have the grades. I've been doing everything. And he looked at me and he said, you know what, Walt? Someone took a chance on me. And this is why I'm here, you know what I mean, in my position. Someone took a chance on me. And I'm thinking like, okay, this sounds good, right? I understand it. I'm hearing him. He has my ear, somebody I trust. And he looks at me and he's like, someone needs to take a chance on you. So I'm looking at him. He's looking back at me. I'm thinking like, are you going to take the chance? You know what I mean? Like, are you taking a chance? Like, what's going on? Like, come on, my brother. You know what I mean? So, and it's not like I was looking for a handout, but he didn't take a chance on me, man. He didn't take a chance on me. And I think I was like 21 years old. And that still pains me to this day. And I think that's lit a fire under me in regards to like, I'm not, I have no haste or no harbor any ill feelings towards him or anything like that. But that really was a huge turning point for me, a 21 adult but young man, to hear that. And I'm staring at somebody that I kind of look at as a mentor or someone I can, provide me some guidance. And it's just like, dang, like, where's the helping hand, right? Nonetheless, go back to the drawing board. I get it together. I find me something. But I vow from that day to never look at another, young Black man, young Black boy, or any student in particular, or anyone that needs help, and not take a chance on them in some way, form, or fashion. And that was kind of like what propelled me into teaching. I taught second grade, taught fifth grade, and I went to sixth and eighth grade. And I was like, you know what? This is where I am. This is where I am to stay. And that's where I've been since then. That was very monumental. I think I was almost mystified when he looked at me and said that I had to go back home. I was staying with my mom at the time. And I went back in my room and I sat on that bed, man. I just like sulking, but you got to pick yourself up, right? And keep going. So.
Wow. So while you were in college,
Mhm.
what did you major in? Did you have more than one major, or what did you major?
Yes. Yes. So as a freshman, it was radiology. I was volunteering at Aurora Sinai in the rad tech department, which was fun. But then I found out, Mr. King, I was not good at chemistry, man. I never took chemistry. I I never took chemistry in high school. I took biology, anatomy, earth science. I didn't touch chemistry. I get to college and I'm like, what is nomenclature? Why are we putting these things together? And I'm like, what in the world? But I didn't give up though, Mr. King. What happened was in the summer of like my sophomore year, I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna give it my all in the summer. I'm just gonna take this class. I gave my all and I got a C. And I was like, you know what? I capitulate. I acquiesce, man. You got it. I'm just not good at chemistry. You know what I mean? So therefore, after that, I changed it to healthcare administration, where I did more so of the accounting, the finance, dealing with patients, patient relations and interactions with that, being professional in those types of spaces. So yes, I definitely changed it.
So did you ever get the opportunity to learn the chart? I forgot what they call the chart, but the chart where you learn all the different the
Oh, the elements or the elements.
yes.
Yeah. So I became familiar with it. My labs were helpful. I understood some of it, but when we started mixing them up and those chains began to get longer and longer, I was just like, what is this? My mind was just not wired for that. Anything about the body, the bones, I could do it. Anatomy, physics was my thing, just not chemistry. So,
Wow.
or physics. And I tried physics too.
Yeah. Now, yeah, that is a beast.
I tried though. I tried.
That is a beast. I actually had to go through that. I struggled with that in grad school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they were talking about physics and understanding it as a science, the thing that got me was like, as they say, what is the velocity of the rocket taking off from here, reaching this point at this time? and
Yes.
go through and do all these measures and come up with this big old long formula like this.
Yes.
I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. Okay.
Absolutely.
It kind of got me because of course I'm not Sir Isaac Newton, but hey.
Yeah, we tried, man. It was just like, the dealing with the torque and the kinetic energy. It was interesting, but I just could not grasp it. I could not grasp it. And I tried. I literally like tried.
Mm. So as you think about these insights and about your journey that we just mentioned,
Mhm.
tell me, how does this relate to what you do in the community? How did it help you when you were going out into the community to pull people together and to start to make things happen? Where you live.
So Milwaukee is small but big, right?
Mhm.
So going to Milwaukee Public School and switching schools, what, five or six times, right? I
Mhm.
I've grown to know so many different people. I had to make friends at different places, right? So
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that I know that we've grown up. Oh, I see you doing this now. I see you doing that now. And what happens is, once I got into the educational field, I began to meet new people, and these new people knew some of the people that I went to school with. You know what I'm saying? And then therefore, we got branches and olive branches being created here and there. And now I got this network of people. I got this network of people, and I think it was while I was teaching, one of my teaching assistants, shout her out, Shamari Salim. She always seen something in me that I really didn't, see in myself. Like, we would have conversations about different things in the community and about school and kids and things like that. And she was like, "You need to be heard. You always share it in, close quarters. You don't talk about it." So I started doing like some after school clubs and things with kids. Got into a lot of coaching and things like that. But when I ran a gamut and became a principal, I got away from the kids. I started dealing more so with just strictly the adults. And not saying that it's not enjoyable to work with adults a lot of times, but sometimes when you remove yourself so far away from the grassroots people or the people on the front lines, I'm sorry, like the teachers, and then dealing with the kids, you kind of lose sight of what your mission is. And I always tethered that line. I always remember what it was like to be a teacher. And I remember, I was thinking about like the administration. And so I was trying to blend that piece, and I kept butting heads, finding conflict, because you got the administrators that want to do certain things. So what I ended up doing, I was just like, man, like, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if, sometimes we have the best interests of our kids in mind when we make some of these policies or when we pick these different curriculums. So I wanted to be a little bit more instrumental and talk to different people. So when I got into higher education, it kind of allowed me, it freed me up some time. And that's when I started intrinsically motivated. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get more involved with the community, try to get these kids. And that's where I began to, I wrote my book, Intrinsically Motivated with No Excuses. I wrote my book that's on Amazon now. It's a book slash a journal specifically for kids, middle school to high school kids, really trying to get them there, to read, challenge, and then journal, to do a lot of self-reflection, make it inward, because it should be intrinsic. So I get out to the schools now. I talk to them, I talk to the kids. I'm doing different work in regards to teaching strategies, which is still based on intrinsically motivated, but it's in addition to integrated community education consultants. But the work was, I wasn't seeing it, Mr. King. I didn't see it. I don't see it. We have these different organizations. I'm not going to name them, but we have these different organizations around, but I don't know how cultured they are. I don't know if they, because we deal with data and stuff, right? So they'll say we have this, we do this. This is based on research, which is wonderful. Research has a place, but when I'm in there and I'm dealing with these kids, there's a demographic within a demographic of kids. So this might sound good, right? But let me see how it holds up to the kids that I'm dealing with. So I've been a big proponent for that. So when I see something and I go into these schools or I go talk to these different people or I rub elbows and I'm having these conversations with different principals and, administrators and things like that, I always question that, because I want more for the kids, but I also want to challenge the administrators to think a little differently, because the academia piece is always good, but what about the qualitative piece? We gotta, that's the big thing. So I'm in that space now, really trying to focus on that qualitative piece. Look at the statistics. look at the academia. Okay, that's what I got from there. Because, you know, I went to school and got my master's in urban education and my master's in educational leadership. Those are great, solid foundations. But now when I apply it, it may look different. And I'm really in that, and that's a lot of what I'm trying to do right now.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's also a really good thing because I think when they're like different things, especially when you have a diverse group of kids, like you say you have, um, it helps to pull a lot in the creative process out the mind. And it helps them to actually be able to function and do a whole bunch of things that probably no one has ever seen them do before.
Right.
And so that's really really interesting. And so with
Mhm.
that concept, I mean, did you have to go through the school to get this approved, or was this one of the things that as a teacher you're just able to use different tools?
So it's funny. I've actually a lot of what I've done has been like referrals based on like, so for example, I know someone that works at different schools and they'll ask me to come in. You know what I mean? I my business partner and I, for the education and consulting pieces, there's this consulting agency that reaches out to us to do particular professional development for teachers and things like that. So I do a lot of that. So some of it's like subcontracted work, but a lot of it is me really trying to connect with these people at these different schools and me reaching out and trying to be a vessel to them. And then, you know, I mean, we'll probably get into it later, but then I started my podcast, you know, and that opens up the door for a lot of other things. And it's actually been going pretty well.
Okay. So, so then, for when you started to do this, have
Mhm.
you seen any kind of impact or changes within your community as you work with the people there to do many different things?
So let's think. I'll tell you this. There's some initiatives within the community. For example, I know for sure there's the 53206 initiative, all the way to the 53209, because these are like the most impoverished areas of the city. So they really try to pinpoint and that be the focal point. So there's things about, you know, trying to get them jobs, different kinds of training for job readiness, workforce development, but also even education, you know, because it's right down there. The 53206 is near, where is that near? I think it's downtown in that area, but it's close to Milwaukee Area Technical College. And then they have a lot of things going on down there where you have the Promise program, where it's like, if you come down here, you do this, you have this type of income level, we can get you here, and they're paying for your education. So we have things like that. I believe Khalifa Rainey is our 7th district alderman in the Sherman Park, Roosevelt area. And actually, one of those schools over there in that area is one of the schools that I actually go to and speak to the kids in. I know he has some initiatives as well. Milwaukee Urban League does some things. Brennan Rebels, you know, has been around for a while. Um, the mayor, let me get to him. I'm sorry, Mayor Cavalier Johnson. I believe he became the mayor in 2021. Prior to that was Mayor Tom Barrett. There's a summer youth internship program that's run every summer for sophomores to seniors, and it gives them internships. But we do things on healthy living, um, of course, resume writing and job readiness, reflection. You know, just things of being a grown up and being more responsible and things like that. So I've been doing that along with them. I believe Cavalier Johnson also. Um, endorses that as well. We got David Crowley, who's our county executive, also another African American man, which is pretty cool. They're both from the area, so they do a lot of things on equity. They're on different boards and things like that. So those are some of the overarching things that I see. But then you have some people like Maurice Wentz. It's kind of like my uncle. He actually opened up pretty much the only black-owned grocery store in Milwaukee. And he placed it smack dab in the middle of Fond du Lac and Sherman, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Fond du Lac and Sherman, because there's a food desert there. So he has that. He was just on the news recently. I was there for his grand opening. So we have some things where we're trying to pull together. You got MKE Fellows, MKE Alive, you know. So we have all these things that are trying to come, you know, and work together. But as my podcast, the name of my podcast is "What's Your Motive?" I don't know everybody's motives.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to find out. And that's what I'm seeking now.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds pretty good. I mean, I mean, so with the grocery store, I mean,
Uh-huh.
how long has it been there, and is it really plentiful? I mean, do people use it a lot?
Yes, I want to say, when was his grand opening? I want to say it was, we were in 2024. I want to say it was 2 to 3 years ago,
Okay.
because I know it was after COVID because we were able to go in there. You know what I mean? But it's right there, and what's crazy is the location of it is wonderful because it's the store, but then it's the gas station that everybody was going to and getting those snack cakes, chips,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? All the things like that. And now we have a grocery store right here to kind of like, hey, look at this versus this, and that type of thing. So it's smack dab right there, right in the heart of the city. It's right there in the heart of the city, which is wonderful.
Yeah, that is. That means a lot, especially with people using that black owned business
Yep.
and not having to go 25, 30 miles outside to get fresh fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, and being able to, and to my knowledge, the food is affordable. Because even going out, like you said, farther out to some of these places like Fresh Time and Whole Foods, um, for a lot of our people, it's expensive to even purchase and eat healthy, right?
Well, but I think he couldn't have picked a better place to do that because there's like a lot of major metropolitan cities. They're
Hmm.
actually starting to do that, and there's this one store. I'm sure you know the name of it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's
Hmm.
black owned. They're from South Georgia, but they're like spread out, and
Okay.
they have put their grocery stores in a lot of the major, um, underserved communities.
Okay.
They have this large one that's over in East Point.
Okay.
Beautiful store, state of the art technology, and I
Hmm.
mean it's like it's easy to use. I mean that's a ways for me, but every now and then I just go over there because I got the app on my phone.
Right.
So I like to just go over there. And when you go over there all
Hmm.
the time, I mean, there's so many people that's there.
Right.
It's actually pretty cool. So
Hmm.
as you pivot to the classroom and
Hmm.
on the educational side, do you find that the things you're doing and the techniques that you're using that are they working to where let's say if it's like a particular school or if it's the system in general, are you guys working out any plans of continuing and growing some of the things that you do?
So now that I'm at the technical college, it's pretty much kind of a side thing for me. I'm trying to work myself inside out. So I'm trying to talk to the people in the Department of Education in that actual in that school, um, to kind of like see what I can do. So for example, I'm on it's called the Achieve the Dream Committee, and it's different technical colleges from across the nation, right? And we come together and we try to figure out how to improve the student and faculty experience, especially for minority. You know what I mean? For minority kids, because a lot of MATC students are from the inner city,
Mhm.
but a lot of the educators are Caucasian. You know what I mean? So therefore, we may have this cultural disconnect, and we're trying to find ways in which we could provide professional learning. We're trying to go away from professional development to where the teachers understand and have a better understanding of the student population that they're serving. And
Bad
because of and
communication.
because of where I right exactly and because of where I come from the elementary realm and things like that, and dealing with like those diverse populations, and then just dealing with the diverse personalities of the students, they asked me to come on to try to shed the light because these elementary and high school kids are coming to the college, which allows me to be a lending hand for that. Now, when I was in the elementary space, I had intrinsically motivated, but it was some blurred lines in which what I could and couldn't do. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
wow.
like, yeah, you were kind of handicapped in that because um, although the mission may align, there were still parameters with the private schools and what you were doing in the public sector. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I will always talk about it, of course, and that was my motto. so I can have it on my wall. So it's intrinsically motivated with no excuses. But it started in my classroom. I started as a classroom teacher. Um, you know,
Hmm.
because a lot of times, if you look, Mr. King, a lot of educational spaces, and I'm not talking down on anybody in particular,
Right.
what they try to do is there's this, I'll give you this to a kid if you do this for me. So they want a particular behavior, but they want to give them a reward already. And my thing was, I told them, like, the reward is your self satisfaction, you achieving, you doing well. I'm not giving you candy. I'm not throwing you a party. I'm
Yeah.
not patting you on the back all the time when you did something you're supposed to do. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So I've always been a proponent for that, and a lot of my kids, um, at first were like raised eyebrows, like, "Well, we don't get candy." Like, no, you came to see me. I'm the show. I'm the show. We gonna get it rocking in here. You're gonna see me change my voice intonation. You're gonna see me change my attitude. You're gonna see me get serious. You're gonna see me be funny. But we're gonna enjoy this community of learning here. But you're doing it for you. You're doing it for you. And I'm here for you to facilitate and guide you. But I want you to feel good after you did it. I want you to feel good about broadening your lexicon. I want you to feel good about figuring out a way to study to be, you know what I mean? So that's a lot of what I did. And trying to do that at the collegiate level is now my next challenge right here. I was able to do it at the elementary level with the kids. I was able to plant some seeds into. But right now I'm at the collegiate level trying to do that.
So, with education, tell me, what are some of the things you think is needed in order to make this a whole lot better? I mean, what can be put into an agenda
Mm,
needs to be taken to the city and say, "Hey, we need to do one, two, three, four, and five."
okay. So I don't know if I have five of them, but I got one at the top of my list.
Okay.
And I know some people might not like it, but this is my opinion. We have to get away from the scripted curriculum.
Ooh. Oh, well,
When and when I say scripted, I mean to a T, where I'm reading, okay, now, you know what I mean? No, 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 no. What happened to recognizing that teaching is an art? We're almost like teachers are like thespians, right? So therefore, when I go to Mr. Holloway, when I go to Mr. Cullen, I know that I have to navigate in these spaces differently. I know that the expectations are different, right? But I know at the end of the day, the core concept is that I'm going to learn, and I'm going to learn from his way. I'm going to learn from his way. I'm going to learn from her way, not this robot, not
Mhm.
this robot. Because in life, that's not our standard. When we go to different jobs and we deal with different people, we got to deal with different personalities, different characteristics, different voice tones, right? Different expectations. So that scripted curriculum doesn't keep, and I'm standing by this. It does not keep the attention of our kids in the inner city. I stand by that.
So, with it being scripted, so what would you do to change it? How would you change it up?
How would I change it up?
Yes.
I would create a curriculum where there's a general framework, right? So, for
Mhm.
example, and I may be doing something that's somewhat taboo, right? Like, let's go back to some of the conventional ways in which we all kind of like learn, right? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, not to date you, but think about when you were in education, when you were growing up in education, right? When I was growing up in education, I would go back to kind of like that way. So we're doing some rote memorization type things, but we're also applying it. We're doing a lot of hands-on things versus just always sitting on a computer. I'm creating projects, projects that are cross curricular in which they have to involve themselves in conversation with their peers, whole group conversation. We're doing debates. You know what I mean? We're writing papers. Mr. King, I don't even know if they write as much as they used to anymore.
I don't think they do.
I would get back to those things. And you just lit my brain on fire. I would love to try to do curriculum. My sister is the person that I probably should do that with because
Mhm.
she's a little bit more meticulous and detailed. But those are the things I would do. I would do away with the scripts, man. Can
Mhm.
you imagine being a teacher and someone telling you, Mr. King, when I come in your classroom, I want to hear three things: movement, volume, pitch. And I want you to say, when I say go, you're saying this to a kid. When I say go on a count of three at a level one, I want you to go pick up your book bag and pencil. Everybody in the school has to say, that's insane, man. That is insane. That is insane. That strips everything a teacher is supposed to be. They're supposed to be themselves, but perform and provide this education that's rich and enjoyable. That's not enjoyable in my opinion. You know what I mean?
You're
So
right.
I think that's missing. That's missing. Those are my two things right there. The scriptedness and trying to make everyone sound the same. Like we gotta do away with that, especially in Milwaukee. I'm not sure what it's like in GA, but in Milwaukee, I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere.
So are they doing that thing where they teach to a test where you have to pass what's that this one big
The
test?
map test, the STAR test,
Yeah.
the standardized testing is still there. Obviously, a lot of things are rooted in scores. They are.
Yes.
And, Mr. King, I can't change everything. We can't change everything, right? Some things are just going to be there. And some things are helpful. And I'm not trying to, rain on anybody's parade for what they're doing and the work that they feel should work. But there's plenty of kids that I know that have taken tests. And I look at it and I'm like, yeah, this is not what this person does. Look at this sample I have in the classroom. You know what I mean? I never taught to the test. I taught the skills and everything that I felt that they needed to know, especially like I was taught. I stuck to the curriculum for the most part, but I supplemented. Black History Month wasn't always in February. Black History Month was all year round. You know
Right.
what I mean? If we were discussing religion and it was discussing it all year round. Why am I only devoting 1 month to certain things? We're learning about these things all year round in different facets. Yep, we got to do this. It's time to do this. Hold on. We had a conversation in class. Let's break that down. You know what? I got a project for that. Let's delve deeper into that, but still stay on par with the curriculum. So, yeah, those are my things, man. I can talk about this all day. I'm telling you, I go on a
Because
rant.
I think when it comes down to it, I don't think standardized testing should be used.
Mm-hmm.
Um, due to its biasness anyway. I
Right.
mean, what I'm saying is, as you said originally, I think
Mm-hmm.
letting teachers teach for one thing. Let
Mm-hmm.
teachers do what they did in my day. Let the teachers go and create, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the things that they're going to do, and let them use that educational experience that they got from college and
Mm-hmm.
make this curriculum and teach it. Now, what they're doing now is that because they're giving them these little packets, and they say, okay, here's your stuff, and this is what you teach,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's nonsensical, and it's like there's no way around it, and you have to,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I think about education, and I think about it being its worst, and it's also being its realist when I think
Mm-hmm.
about what they did in Florida.
Okay.
Florida is the perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
You see, down there, it's like these folk were apparently afraid to challenge
Mm-hmm.
what was happening. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're afraid to challenge, then that means that nothing's ever going to get done.
Absolutely.
So I mean, if there's some things that just need to be put out there, then they need to be put out there. And
Yeah.
so, that's one of the things that I'm actually working on.
And that's beautiful because in education they say it's a pendulum swing. There's a
Right.
swing from one extreme to the next extreme. You're right, and we're on this whole other extreme where it's Zern, Lexia, um, Alex. Everything is kind of like digital. Then you got this scripted lesson. Then you got this. Mr. King, it's gotten so monotonous that it's like for the first 30 minutes you do this. Once that 30 minutes is up, they say you got to move on. I questioned someone and I said, what if my student does not understand after that? You still got to move on. It'll come back up later. See, I'm not of that. I'm not of that ministry. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Wow.
I feel it's necessary if my students don't get this, there's no reason for me to move on just yet. Let me catch this kid up. I still can, help those that are, above in terms of like understanding it and comprehending it. But I can't leave this kid like that. That doesn't feel good at all to me. And I
Mm.
don't think that's the way to go. And that's the way we've gone. It's 30 minutes here, 20 minutes here. Get on your computer and do that there. We're not doing cursive. Granted, okay, times have changed. Sure, you don't have to really sign it anymore. But I'm still of that, like, you still should know. I knew about a rotary phone and I grew up in the 80s, you know what I mean? Before you know it, I had a cell phone, but I still needed to know what a rotary phone was. You know what I mean? I still need to know how to catch the payphone. Payphones are obsolete, but we still need to know that so we know where we came from, and then you have that knowledge there. So we
Right.
can anchor and have these conversations. Like I had these conversations with you, Mr. King.
That's why I'm going to recreate a payphone.
There you go.
Create a payphone because I think once people learn that simplicity, get my own phone line.
There you go.
Payphone. Let people use that kind of phone, and people will relate more so to that than these tracking devices that we have.
Right. And then they start slowing down when they want you to get a new one. They start slowing the phone down on purpose,
Yes.
overheating and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I see, man. It's just a pendulum swing. Because you remember, I mean, even think about it. There was a time where maybe a few years ago, I think, when they didn't even want the kids to memorize their multiplication facts. And
Yeah.
it was like, and I questioned that. I'm thinking, like, why wouldn't we have the kids memorize the multiplication facts when in algebra and stuff, you need to know this stuff like super, super quick. And
Right.
it was almost it, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here. It was almost sinister to me because it was like, are y'all doing this on purpose? Which will hold some students back because they made it seem like it was just such a complex skill to, understand that 3 times 2 is 6. And it was just like, what happened to just knowing it? You know what I mean? We can get to all that, but I still know them, and it makes it easier. And then we still got kids struggling in math.
Well, you know something. Now I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna sound kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Again, another class that I had to take when I was in grad school, I had to retake algebra. Right.
Okay. Hmm.
That's when I realized that they was doing that totally new and different. That was the old school way, and there was
Hmm.
5 of us that's about my age range. Sitting there like, wait a minute, you going too fast with that.
Right. Right.
It was like, bam, bam, bam.
Right.
What just happened? So
Hmm.
now you got to slow that down. So when you slow that down, now okay, because we had to work it on the two sides.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
And see, the kids today work on the TI-83.
The calculator.
Yeah. So you put that in, and so I was just like, I was floored by that because I got one of those afterwards. And so
Hmm.
I still sit there and I play with mine to this day, and I find that to be totally amazing. You just put it
Hmm.
in and it graphs, and there's your answer.
Yep. Yep.
Whatever
Yeah.
happened to solving?
See, I had the best of both worlds. Like I said, I was an 80s baby. So growing up in the 90s and 2000s, we had to know how to do it by hand,
Right,
and we got introduced to it in a calculator. You know what I mean?
right.
But now everything is digital.
See,
Everything is digital.
there.
And I think it's progressive to an extent, but I think the writing portion and figuring out the mental math and stuff really makes a difference in terms of that development of the brain for the child.
Well, you see, this is where being in an underserved community is a disservice because a lot of those kids are not going to be able to jump to that level. So how do we put
Exactly.
into that?
Exactly. And that's the challenge right now, really trying to figure that out because the powers that be in the Department of Education or wherever it is, this is what's coming down and you have to do what's coming down. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's so much governing what and how you can teach unless you're like one of those um, administrators or teachers that's like, when I close my doors, this is my domain and this is how we doing it. You know what I mean? And if, but otherwise, I mean, it's so many eyes on you trying to
Mhm.
watch and see what you do because they want it done this way. But my question is why? And
So
then they'll give you the research for it, which sounds good. But again, like I told you earlier, there's a demographic between a demographic within a demographic. Because just because it worked for those minority children doesn't mean it works for these children. I have when I talk about minority children, I'm talking about at the previous school I worked at, there were African American children and there were Karenni, Filipino students there. That's a different type of mixture of minorities. You
right,
tested it on all what you thought was African Americans. You wanted to stereotype it and make it like uniform, like, oh, if it worked for them and it worked. No, that's over there. We're over here. This is a different region. You know what I mean? This is a different area. We have to take that into account and really kind of like think about those things. And that's one of the biggest things that I think plagues what's going on in Milwaukee right now, especially in educational space. But there's only so many people that can really speak up or have that type of, influence right now. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it on an underlay. One of my buddies, Mr. Holloway, is one of my biggest proponents and biggest supporters in regards to that. He was a guidance counselor for about 14, 15 years. A little older than me, but it's like my brother. So we're really trying to do a lot of those things with the consulting.
So do you think, last question is the education part.
Okay.
So do you think that if we actually were able to come together, come with a plan in our own communities, we could actually start out with maybe our own little special little charter school.
Man, almost like independent though.
Yes, independent.
You almost need to be able to have your own independent school where you can kind of like dictate what kind of like goes on. You know what I mean? Because even in a charter school, they have a lot of things they have to adhere to.
Right.
Which, but it's a little bit harder to do it independently. I get it, but if we could create a conglomerate or a faction of people that's like, yeah, let's get behind and let's do this for our kids, for this community, and we have these people in place to lead the charge and really be invested in it and do it with so much intentionality, we could be great. But again, you and I, like we're doing right now, we're talking how many people are really going to try to jump in and really try to push this,
Well,
what's their motive, Mr. King? What's their motive?
Well, see, you may be surprised because I don't want to jump ahead too much and give away too much, but the show tomorrow is it's the state of Black America, and we're actually cultivating agendas.
Okay.
That's gonna go across the spectrum for many different areas, and for what needs to get done. Well, we're not only taking it to the local and national politicians.
Okay.
On their doors, send them emails until they answer the damn phone. But we're actually going to try to do this. And the thing is, as you said, being separate from the system, they may say, "Oh, well, you're not going to get any accreditation for that." Well, that's fine. Don't give me accreditation. But I'm not doing what you're doing, and I guarantee you, my students are going to be much smarter, much better than yours.
You know what I mean? And that's the aim, though. Like, what happened to one to create a rich culture of students that like just enjoy the learning, and in the process, you see them excel, right? And they don't need any validation. They appreciate the extra validation from the teacher because who they're with, primarily more than even with their parents during the school year. But the fact, I always try to inculcate something where the kid understands that, like, I did this, it felt great, I want to do it again. I want to get better again, and I'm satisfied in that. Even if I fail, I'm not making no excuses. I recognize that. Let me take that. Let me reflect. How many times are we giving our children time to reflect nowadays? I make my son reflect on his actions. I make my son reflect on, saying, why did he do this or what happened in here? You know what I mean? That's important. And I always did that prior to me having my son in 2014. I was teaching prior to that. I did that with my kids. So I honestly had practice prior to having my son. You know what I mean? I was having two stepchildren as well that I was able to do that when I actually taught my stepson in 6th and 8th grade. But I did a lot of trial and error as a young teacher, and I just recognized and I got really, really comfortable. And I was like, you know what? This is what these kids need. They don't need to be worried about all these external validation, these external rewards. They need to be because they want to do it. Don't do it for mom. Don't do it for dad. You know what I mean? Don't do it for your sister. Do it for you. And guess what? Those external rewards will come, and you'll be able to help mom. You'll be able to help dad. You'll be able to encourage your little brother. And it just bleeds right back in the community. But remember, I'm only one person.
Right. Well, I tell you, there's probably a whole lot of things that you're doing that I can tell you that you won't. I don't think that it's going to be that long before there's going to be many other folk that's going to actually pop up and be on that team and help you to build, because that's definitely good. That's some good stuff that you're talking about.
Gotcha.
What role do mentorship and continuous learning play in your ongoing professional development?
Huge. And I'm gonna say this specifically. It does a lot for my confidence and for like just like my belief, you know. Obviously I do believe in myself. I am confident in what I know and what I can do. But when you have certain mentors and people that look at you and they can see certain things in you, it kind of like pulls it out of you. So two mentors that I really have to give a lot of love to is Dr. Bird, Clavon Bird, and Dr. Corey Thompson. Um, they were instrumental in both of my graduate degrees in urban education and educational leadership. When I say they put me in different positions, they challenged me in different ways. They're like, no, you're going to do this, or you're going to try this, or they just support me. It's been everything because, you know, I can call them, I can text them for perspective. I can text them and ask them about these. For example, when I became an associate principal, I was promoted to associate principal within 6 months of being a dean. And I was like, whoa, hold on, this is too fast. Like 6 months. I don't think I was ready. I'm trying to crawl before I walk. But Dr. Bird and Dr. Thompson, they looked at me and swore I was ready and I was destined to do that. And they wanted me to become a principal. I was like, no, I'm not going that far. Now I'm too far. Now I'm too far removed from my kids. I gotta be attached to the kids. I can't be in meetings all day, Mr. King. So that mentorship, my sister, Crystal Hernandez, she's down there in Covington. I owe her a lot. She was the first teacher. She taught at MPS for 25 years. She's still teaching. That's where I get a lot of what I know is from her, from that lady. And we're 12 years apart and we're just this close. You can't even tell. You can't even tell. We're 12 years apart, but I owe a lot to her, Dr. Clavon Bird, Dr. Thompson, even my boy Holloway. I mean, he's older than me. He gives me a lot of wisdom. You know, I hate it if I'm missing somebody right now. But mentorships and being able to talk to somebody that's going to be like, no, you might want to do it this way, or no, you don't see it. I don't see it that way. You might want to turn it back, and not always telling me yes. You know what I mean? And being like, hold on, you might have bit off more than you could chew on this one, you know? And having those people to have that sound mind and always remain a calm disposition. And I took that a long time ago from one of when I got an evaluation, and she stated that I love how everything's going. I love the community you've created in here. And a lot of my mentors, and I appreciate that because even sometimes when I feel a little anxious, I'm able to lean on them and they're able to calm me down, you know, and help me see a lot more clear. And I think we all need that guidance. So now my mentorship, obviously I got these when I was older, right? I'm trying to get to the young ones and mentor them before these brains and things already be made up in terms of what they want to do and how they want to do it and what they don't want to listen to. Because a lot of times what I say as a 36-year-old may not resonate with that 12-year-old sometimes, you know, they want to hear it a different way, you know. And sometimes I could jump into character, Mr. King. I definitely could jump into character, you know, if need be. I'm a thespian in some way, in one form or fashion, you know, but mentorship is extremely important, very valuable. And it's the reason I am where I am today, for sure.
So, in all of this, how does, or have you thought about, does politics play a part in this?
Whew. Okay, so it's funny you mentioned politics because I remember in graduate school they talked about the different systems in education, and there was a political system in education. You see it from, like you said, you know, like the different organizations that govern the education, that govern, you know, MPS, private schools, the archdiocese, and things like that. But you also see it inside the schools when you're dealing with the different people that are the heads, you know, when you're dealing with the board, when you're dealing with the principal, when you're dealing with the president, when you're dealing with the director of instruction, you know what I mean? You name it. There's politics in any and everything in there. And it does a lot of, how can I be gracious in this, Mr. King?
There is no graciousness for it.
Okay. It hinders a lot of progress.
Yes.
It infringes on a lot of sound ideas that the people from the communities and the people that frequent the communities that are working in these schools.
Call it right.
There you go. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, I felt that as I began to climb the ladder in education. And I love all those people and I appreciate all those people that I come in contact with, you know, and I appreciate them for sure. I learned a lot, but I also recognize that I start seeing that resistance. You know, if they were bringing to the table, I had a voice. At least I thought I did. And so if I'm at the table and we're having an administrative meeting, what I say should have some weight. But you got to remember, I have other people around the table that have their own agendas. My
Well,
agenda is the kids.
when it comes to the school system, everything has a quota. So
Hmm.
if you look at, just say if it's 10 students that they want to have in the school, you
Hmm.
know, seven of them have to be white, two have to be black, one can be a Latino or an Asian or whatever.
Hmm.
But they have to have at least 7 whites because they have
Hmm.
to keep the majority. So you see,
Hmm.
but as you say, the pendulum is swinging
The
back.
pendulum swing, absolutely,
As it's swinging back, you know, all that's going to change. And you know,
absolutely.
there's lots of things in works right now that's going to change that.
Hmm.
But so let's take this to another level. So what about you in the political arena representing your people?
Now, when you challenged me, you mentioned that via text a while ago. I have to think about that. I talked to my wife about that. I talked to my sister about that. I'm like, politics. I'm like, man, like, I know a little bit about it, but I don't know, and then I remember you were like, how old are you? You're like, that's about right. You said 36. So, um, my thing is like I said, like I go back to Shamari Salim, she always told me that I need to be more vocal. Like I need to say these things that I have because I used to share with her in our small circles. I've considered it. I've definitely been considering it, just for the sake of just getting more comfortable with being out there and actually let my voice be heard. I understand that not everyone's going to agree with me, Mr. King. I
Well, not
recognize that.
every, but I can tell you this. This is how you're going to do Milwaukee, which is going to turn the whole thing out. Okay.
Okay,
That is, you're going to build from your community out. Because as
absolutely.
long as you got your community and you start
Hmm.
building out, you're going to get
Hmm.
everything that's surrounding, regardless of the case, because the authoritative speech that you have and the things that you're going to be telling them is all about the truth and no lies.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. And I want to make sure that I hold on to that. That is my foundation, that I'm always staying true to who I am through it all. You know what I mean? And like this is deeply entrenched in me to really start with these young people and branch it out to the community because we need it. And I know we've been saying this for years and years. We got to better the community, better community. But there are ways. I just need your help. You know what I
yes,
mean? I just need your help. I want to partner with you. I want to build with you. And again, that's what I'm pretty much doing on my podcast. I'm building with these people and trying to get these people to be seen. And I'm trying to lock them in. Let's lock arms. Let's figure out what's going on. I interviewed an HR professional, Portia Bates. She just wrote a book on top candidates. She goes into school. She does great things, great work. And it was just refreshing to hear her story. And we know each other, because one of my buddies, they're together. So man, I don't know, man. I'm elated, I'm happy, I'm anxious, but sometimes it's like, are y'all all rocking with me? Or what's the motive behind it?
well, you see, that the thing is, you got to remember that it's not about the outside forces, it's about you. You're either all in
Mhm.
or you're
Right,
not.
right.
You're all in. All of that is secondary because the team that's around you control everything else, which means you're in the
Absolutely.
middle. The team is around you.
Absolutely.
The team is around you. You know, of course,
Absolutely.
you're gonna be challenging and understanding everything that's like this, but
Right.
you don't have that to worry about because that's small.
Right. Right. And that's funny that you mentioned that because I think I am in like the team building stage.
Mhm.
Either I'm building a team or I'm becoming a part of the team because my buddy Victor Sloan has been doing some great things in the community for about like 12 years. He's been throwing this event, and man, when I say we got something coming,
Mhm.
we got something coming. We got something big coming, and I'm super excited. I can't let the cat out the bag. I might have to tell you off
Yeah.
camera. But man, shout out Vic Sloan. Shout out Vic Sloan. We got something big
And again, that's why we'll call America in black and white.
coming. Absolutely.
All the truth, no lies.
No lies. No lies. No lies. Pure truth. We gotta be. Can't be ignoble in this world, man.
Yes, sir. And you know, I'm glad that you actually got the opportunity to come out on the show. So
Hmm.
once this goes out, of course, people are going to be seeing you right now live, but
Absolutely.
they'll be able to see this show as many times as they like, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to direct them to that show as much
Absolutely.
as well, because this is the show that's going to actually project this
Mm-hmm.
this upward climb that you're about to take. Because
Okay.
when you got when you got the forces around you that's supporting and protecting you, you're
Mm-hmm.
always good. And as long as you stay the person that you are, that's going to continue.
Okay.
So that's what I'm expecting.
Gotcha. And that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for sure. I'm really just trying to do that. And I'm really focusing on channeling my energy towards that.
Mhm.
A lot more. Usually we get into this space where we just working, going to work and coming home, going to work and coming home, going to work and coming home. And obviously that helps with the livelihood of your home and things like that. But always thinking about those people outside the doors as well. I always wonder, what's going on. That's why I still coach. I was just coaching my son's sixth grade team, and it always keeps me, it always helps me to remember, like, there's always somebody else that needs to, in this community, that needs help. And how can I be a pillar? How can I be of impact? How can I be of influence? Where do you need me? I'm fine with doing that. So I'll actually be going to a school next week as well.
Well, congratulations to them, and I'm happy for them that they're getting a individual like yourself, because there's just a lot of nuggets that you're dropping out there that I'm sure
Mhm.
that they're going to be able to pick up and run with.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so.
Well, I thank you, and I thank everybody that has watched the show this evening. I'm glad that you were able to spend some time with us, and they were able to take the time to watch the show. And for those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit the notifications button. So every time we do a show, you will definitely get the show live if you're not able to catch us when we go live. I want to thank you again, Mr. Cullen, for blessing us with your presence. And I hope that we get a chance to have you back as you start climbing the ladder. And
Absolutely.
um, we will see you all next time. And please join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you
Thank
all,
you, Mr. King. Thank you.
and
Have a good one.
you too, and have a good night.